These technologies are the beginning of our freedom. They're the beginning of helping us to remember, first of all, who we are, how our bodies work, how our souls work, what it all means, and how to begin to recreate the Christos civilization on this planet. Because what's running this planet for the last 25,000 years is not the Christos intention at all. If you look at the societies, if you look at our known history and see what that history has been about, it has been about one group exploiting another group, one group massacring another group, one group forcing their beliefs down another group's throat, one group trying to obliterate another group to get land. It was all about land. Land, because Stargates are in certain locations. We've given the locations of those Stargates on this planet, and there's going to be more of the portals that go with them that are going to be given before too long as well. Stargate territories were always on this planet since the invasions took place from the fallen angelics. They were always places where groups invaded groups, because certain groups on the planet were motivated by certain groups of fallen angelics. Now, fallen angelics don't all get along with each other. They've been fighting with each other for many millennia, and they pick on races that they can get to be their little foot soldiers. What has happened on Earth since Atlantis is we have had a race of beings called the Leviathan races that have been bred here through an experiment that went wrong. The experiment was the guardian races had allowed in one of the fallen angelic collectives on what's called bioregenesis, which is regeneration of their DNA template so they could evolve to get their Christos potential back. They entered something called the Emerald Covenant, which is a Christos coevolution agreement. Certain groups of the fallen races agreed to be a part of the Emerald Covenant. They wanted to re-evolve back into the Christos pattern and to get their DNA back together so they could hold Christos frequency. There was a small group of them that was permitted to begin to incarnate into the human form, and it was a very, very specific and very scientific way that the DNA templates had to be blended in order to create this option, this evolutionary option of what was called a hybrid race. Well, unfortunately, the hybrid race worked well. The template took well, and it blended well with the angelic human template. But unfortunately, what happened is certain groups of them, motivated by their fallen angelic kin from other places, decided to take over. They had an in on Earth once they got into human-like bodies, and progressively they've raided our human races and mutated our DNA to the point where we don't have anything left of our memory. It's there, but it's turned off. It's like a light switch that's been turned off. So we're dealing with a huge picture here. We won't understand that whole picture if you're just coming into this work right now. There are other things already available if you're interested in knowing what is that history. We've covered this stuff in other workshops, so I'm not going to, do another workshop on stuff we've already given. But we have the history on the Leviathan races, we have the history on the fall of Atlantis, and how right now this is the culmination of the fall of Atlantis and what's called the Luciferian Covenant. That was an agreement of the Antichristos races and their Leviathan hybrids here to take over this planet when the next stellar activation cycle occurred. That is what's happening now. We are in the middle of a stellar activation cycle that was due between the year 2000 and 2017. It's going on whether we believe in Stargates or not. It's happening whether we want to know about it or not. We can either choose to participate in it consciously or participate in it unconsciously. So what we are trying to teach people is an awareness of the big picture, and it's huge. It is a huge picture. It is a picture that begins with evolution in this time matrix 950 billion years ago. We'll learn more about that in the Metatron workshop because we're going to share some information about the nature of Metatronic science, because Metatron's popping up everywhere these days, just like you used to in the old days of Atlantis. We're going to find out what Metatron really is, what it's connected to. What's going to be fascinating about that is we're going to find out a whole lot about the gods of Olympus when we get into the secrets of Metatron, because there is a huge connection between Metatronic science and what became the gods, the Olympian gods, both of Roman and Greek culture. They were both connected, and both of them came out of Atlantis. They were both mythologies that were based on certain truths that were taking place in Atlantis. And it will be very interesting when we get into the Metatron workshop, because that's when I will get heavily into who's who and, which god was which god and what were they up to. And who were these gods anyway? Were they really gods? And if they were, where'd they go? Like, there's a lot more to the mythologies. The mythologies are a riot because they're a way of taking history and consolidating it in child's fairy tales, almost with a mean sense of humor, because